95% of AI pilots fail, but the 5% that succeed have three things in common, and they're all buried in a footnote nobody's reading. That footnote is what this video is about. Hi, I'm John. I'm a professor who's been working in AI for 20 years, and I also have an AI startup. Now, I work with businesses all the time, both small and large, helping them with their AI efforts, and they're constantly telling me the same thing. We tried AI, it introduced more work, or it hallucinated, or we spent a lot of money on this flashy AI tool that a smooth talking influencer sold us on and it didn't deliver. I've heard all that so many times before. The reason so many businesses got burned by AI early on, it's not that AI doesn't work, although yeah, a lot of AI slop out there really doesn't work. I'm talking about AI as a whole. Silicon Valley has a well-documented habit of selling solutions before they're ready. Fake it before you make it, right? The pitch is polished, the demo's impressive, but then you sign the contract and the thing doesn't work in your actual environment with your actual data in your actual workflow. Now that pattern dominated the first wave of AI adoption when people were still kind of impressed by base ChatGPT. But that's shifting. AI is becoming more infrastructure than hype, and businesses are getting better at demanding proof before they write the check. The era of selling vaporware with a slick slide deck is ending. And thank goodness for that, by the way. Slowly, but it's ending. So when a study comes out saying 95% of AI pilots fail, it goes viral because it validates what a lot of people have already experienced. The problem is that it's being used to imply something the study never actually claimed. Watch this video to the end. I'll explain what that nuance is because I think it really matters for every organization. So what are we talking about? The study is called the Gen AI Divide, State of AI in Business 2025. Now, everyone's quoting this AI study because it seems to make a strong claim. 95% of AI pilots fail, but almost nobody has read what it actually says. Here's the actual finding from the report's own executive summary. Just 5% of integrated AI pilots are extracting millions in value, while the vast majority remain stuck with no measurable P&L impact. P&L, of course, is profit and loss, and it was measured within 6 months of the pilot wrapping up. 6 months. Now, that is a very specific, very narrow definition of success. The study is not saying all AI will only work 5% of the time. It's saying 95% of companies didn't show a direct profit and loss impact within 6 months of a pilot. Those are not the same thing, but that's not how the clickbait headlines read, and it's not how people are using. Now, the Marketing AI Institute looked at this closely. Their analysis pointed out that the MIT study's definition of success required deployment beyond the pilot stage, with measurable KPIs, direct P&L impact, all within 6 months. That definition excludes a lot of the real ways that AI delivers value. Efficiency gains, fewer errors, faster decision making, cost avoidance. None of that shows up cleanly in your standard profit and loss statement, especially under 6 months. This independent analysis by Sean Godeek, sorry if I mispronounced that, added another useful point. The 95% figure for AI pilots is actually comparable to known failure rates for ordinary enterprise IT projects. McKinsey found only 1 in 200 IT projects comes in on time and within budget. In other words, AI pilots may not be failing at a higher rate than IT projects already always have been. To be clear, I think the MIT study is incredibly useful. It's useful as a way of mapping the gap between organizations that are getting real traction and those that are stuck. The authors call this the Gen AI Divide, high adoption, low transformation. The question it's actually answering is, what do the 5% that succeed in AI pilots do differently from the 95% that stall? And on that question, the data is specific. So let's look at 3 key factors so you can know how to make your AI pilots more successful. First, the AI tool you developed might have a kind of amnesia. That's the core finding of the MIT study, and it's something I see constantly with the businesses I work with. Most enterprise AI tools don't retain feedback between sessions. They don't adapt to your workflows. So if you give them context on Monday, they forget by Tuesday. You can correct the mistake 5 times and they'll still keep making it. The report actually quotes one user directly who says, "It's excellent for brainstorming and first drafts, but it doesn't retain knowledge of client preferences or learn from previous edits. It repeats the same mistakes and requires extensive context input for each session." And he says, "For high stakes work, I need a system that accumulates knowledge and improves over time." The second factor, buying beats building. And it turns out it does so by a wide margin. So MIT studied hundreds of AI deployments and found something that surprises almost every executive that I share this with. Buying AI tools from specialized vendors succeeded about 67% of the time. Building your own AI tools internally succeeded only about 1/3 as often. So buying beat building, and despite this, you'll probably notice that most big companies are trying to still build proprietary AI systems in-house, even trying to fine-tune their own LLMs, which is almost always the wrong idea. I understand the instinct, right? You want control over your data. You want control over your models, your roadmap. But the data shows that instinct is probably costing you. External vendors, they bring domain expertise you can't replicate quickly, faster iteration cycles, and integrations that already work, as long as you vet them carefully. Internal builds, now that's going to take longer, and it tends to fall apart when the team that built them moves on. So think about it like this, right? You start an internal project. Who often ends up working on that project? Is it the IT dude who only has 5 hours a week to spare to build this? Or is it the already overworked AI hobbyist in accounting? Look, maybe they can vibe code something together, but more than likely they won't have the time or expertise to really put into building a reliable, hallucination-resistant project. Now, these people are best suited to providing domain expertise to external vendors, but not serving as the primary developers. In short, if you're building when you should be buying, you might be on the wrong side of that ratio, according to the data. Factor 3, your AI budget is probably in the wrong place. You might be spending AI money where it doesn't work. The MIT study found that sales and marketing functions capture approximately 70% of AI budget allocation across organizations. And those are really just the most visible use cases. They're like the easiest ones to pitch in a board meeting. But they're also the functions with the lowest ROI. The real returns are coming from the boring functions, right? Document automation, procurement, legal review, compliance, and finance. The report's case studies found that companies that shift resources to back office automation reported $2 to $10 million in annual savings from replacing outsourced work, 30% reductions in external agency costs, and in some cases, $1 million saved on outsourced risk management. So this is a pretty consistent pattern, right? The flashy use cases get the budget and they produce the slide decks. The unglamorous back office use cases, they get ignored, and yet they produce the actual returns. If your AI budget is concentrated in marketing and sales, you might be funding the wrong half of your business. So what do you do with this information? First, that 95% statistic isn't being reported properly in popular media. The more accurate read is that most AI pilots fail to scale. Not that AI itself doesn't work, and the lesson from it is that AI is not a magic fix. The way it's implemented really, really matters. Second, before you start or expand an AI pilot, you got to be clear on how you're defining success. If you're measuring direct P&L impact within 6 months, you might be setting yourself up to failure even if the project is working. Productivity gains, error reduction, and process speed are real business outcomes. Measure them from the start, or they won't show up in any report that you run later. Third, be very skeptical of the pull towards building internally. The data from this study suggests that instinct to own tools completely might cost you time and success rate. Now, that doesn't mean internal builds never work. What it means is that the bar is higher and the timeline is longer than most teams expect. The divide isn't between companies that have AI and companies that don't. Almost everyone has access to AI now. The divide is between the organizations that have figured out how to deploy it and the ones that are spending money on pilots that never leave the building. AI can work best when it's embedded into document-heavy, process-driven workflows rather than just sprinkled onto the front end. Now, if that resonates with you, that's exactly the problem that my company SquarePact was built to solve. We've built validation, memory, and enforcement for document intelligence into the agent architecture itself. So if you want to use agentic AI for reviewing contracts, proposals, or any other kind of regulation-heavy document, consider giving it a try at squarepact.com or reach out to me. Finally, a favor request: I'm putting out these videos free of charge, and they're designed to be accessible without an AI or heavy tech background. But I need to know from you what's actually helpful. So subscribe to the channel, follow on LinkedIn for more, and give the video a like and comment, and tell us what you'd like to see next.